1, and we're live. You're tuning to Cosmic Children. I'm your host, Kevin, and today I have a very interesting individual in the studio with me. I find his and their work to be quite interesting and quite esoteric. So to start off the conversation, I'm curious to know, how would you describe what you do?
How would I describe what I do? I don't know. I don't think there's a single word that like describes what I do. I think it's more of like an emotion and like a reaction to something. So I guess like for those who don't know like what I'm doing, I'm actually running a brand called Deadinside, and I think a lot of people like, I mean, right now, you know, it's kind of known as like a streetwear label. You know, it's kind of known as a design I guess a platform for like design collaboration, and now more recently like music as well. So there's not really a single term I would say that describes the brand per se, but rather it's kind of like an extension of like myself as a creative individual, I would say. I mean, like for me, like I guess like creativity, like in the term like a creative individual, I think it's you know, the idea is about like, you know, just taking inspiration from many things, you know, and taking many different perspectives, and then I guess putting your own interpretation as like what those things mean, for example. And I think that's kind of what you know, the whole combination of all of that kind of resulted in where deadinside is at right now. So yeah, I think to that point as well, like I think deadinside is really just bunch of like creative inspiration that I've gathered over the past few years, you know, from the point that I was like starting design to the point now, you know, like where I've kind of gotten more interested in like underground music and fashion, for example, and then how design and how graphics and everything just start to come together, and then Deadinside is kind of like a medium for my creative expression. So yeah.
That's a fantastic summation, by the way. So that begs the question, what was the initial catalyst that led to the inception of the brand?
I wouldn't say like, you know, that there was a point of like inception. For one, like I still see it as, you know, like my art project, you know, it's still something that's in the works, you know, it's not really like a brand per se, you know, like I'm not here to make I guess like any form of like bold statement. I'm not saying that brands necessarily have to do that, but you know, I still treat it as a passion project. You know, it's still a side kind of thing. You know, like I don't have stakeholders. You know, I don't have a timeline, for example, to deliver things. You know, I'm not really like a full-fledged like brand. So it's kind of still like a you know, just a thing, you know, where I have time. You know, like, and it's a kind of like a getaway from like my day-to-day job and everything. So but I guess it all really started when I first picked up graphic design. So this happened when I was in like army.
How unfortunate of you.
Yeah, man. Like I think I picked up like graphic design when I was in army because like I was from like the whole like traditional like Singaporean background. Yeah. You know, like
so successful, pragmatic.
You know, you must aim to be like a doctor. You must aim to be like a lawyer, that kind of thing. You know, so like I think, you know, while I was studying, you know, like I was from like JC and everything, you know, like I had a lot of friends around me that were very very driven, you know, they're very diligent, you know, they are definitely high flyers, and I think where they are right now, so like I think they are really, really like successful in what they do, and I truly respect that. I think for me, like what happened was that I think while I was surrounded by these individuals, also I was getting more and more exposure into the creative field. So at that time also I was playing like the guitar, so I was like getting inspired by like music, you know, like doing music and everything. And then I guess like with music also, you know, that comes other forms of creative expression. So design was this other like output that, you know, like I thought I could creatively like express myself. And, you know, like I started like drawing. I started like just sketching, and I remember in school I was like drawing like comics. I was like drawing comics, dude. Then I was like selling to people.
Selling it.
People actually bought my comics. I shit you not, man.
Yeah.
People actually bought like comics, and then like like the I guess like the sense of like satisfaction. It didn't come from like the monetary like exchange from it. It was more of like like hey yo, like people actually fuck with what I do. You know, like I don't have to be like a fucking like lawyer. I don't have to be like like some finance guy, that kind of thing. I just need to do something that I like, and people will like and support whatever you do.
Okay.
So I kind of had that perspective, like fortunately, like quite early on. And then I think after when I went into army, right, my second year, I had like the opportunity to stay out, which is like the best shit you can ever ask for. It's a freaking blessing, man. So I had lots of time to really like think about what I wanted to pursue. So this was like before like applying to uni, this was like me figuring out like the course that I want to get into, and because of that, like I had lots of time. I was like I was staying out, and like I could book out around like 5:30.
Wow, okay.
That's the best lah. So yeah, and then like I was really like having a few like moments where I was actually like thinking, like, do I really want to pursue like the usual Singaporean son like pathway lah? I was like, like, or do I really wanted to do something that I truly love, like, and really like invest time, like, I mean, there's always that saying, like, if you really like what you do, you're not really working at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, so I think like I was really like drawn to that whole idea lah. I didn't want to be like a like dreading like every second of my life, like doing something that I don't like just to fuel like whatever time I have left after work. Doing something that I actually like. So I think that kind of like just like like came on to me, and like I just wanted to like really just start to pursue this like unknown like creative like field of like graphic design. So I think I was like looking up for like courses. So like I had like, because I was like in the office, man. I was like a staff officer, man. I was just like chilling, Then after that, like during my free time, I was just like, okay, how can like I pick up like graphic design?
Fair.
And then everybody was like, okay, you go YouTube, like go and learn like Photoshop, all this kind of stuff, But I was like struggling, man. Like like I didn't have the drive. Then I didn't know what to learn first. There's so many like things to learn.
That's the paradox, lah.
Yeah, that was the paradox, man. Like it was a huge struggle. Like I really want to learn, but then I don't even know where to start as well. So I was looking out on like freaking like classes. I think it was like Skills Future classes, man. And then after that they had this like enrollment for like what was that? Visual comms, like intro to visual comms. So like really damn basic graphic design stuff lah. So they teach you like your golden ratio, all that shit that like all those like big graphic design terms, But like at the time also like I was so like I guess at that time I was super like driven compared to now lah. Now I'm just like lazy lah.
Okay.
Lazy bum now.
Okay. Yeah.
But back then, like I was so drawn to like graphic design. So I signed up for the class, and then every time after I book out, the first thing I do, I just go straight to class.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, to think about it now, I was like quite crazy because like the classes like end like what, like 11 p.m. ish, because it's only for night. It's for night people lah. It's all those people like like after work.
You want to skill up or something.
Want to like,
something,
you want to like skills upgrade, that kind of thing. So it's catered to people who are really like working. So they will come down like after their working hours, and then like just learn and like try and like figure out like design as a whole. So yeah, I think like after I joined the class, then after that like they were teaching us how to use like certain tools, like we were figuring out like Illustrator, and then they gave us like some projects. I think there was some like product making stuff. So like we print like a zine, like we did like a box and everything, really basic stuff. I think but that kind of kindled something in me, I guess. Like, like I was like making things, and I was like, oh shit. And then I think that came like the whole idea of like, like just creating stuff for fun, I think there was lots of okay, fine, like they were like grading us, that kind of shit, and then we were like trying to hit all the checkpoints, like we gotta get A so we can get a cert and whatever. But at the time, I didn't really care. At the time, I was just like designing, I think I got like C in the course or something. Like C in
for congrats? C for
no,
just
like,
a C.
Like C as in like the Singaporean C, man.
Gotcha.
Like if I get C for like a design course for people that are like attending it after work, right? That's quite bad.
Who's judging?
No one's judging, lah.
Yeah.
I mean, like everybody there was like just to learn and everything, lah. So I didn't really like think much about it because I was really just using the time to like explore and everything, lah. And then I think following that, I just spent like more of my time, like now I've got the fundamentals. I was spending more time, just practicing. So I was just like trying out like different like design styles. I was just like replicating like designs here and there.
Yep.
And then I think over time like it kind of got better lah. I was cutting my hand on like graphic design already. I was kind of understanding all the different like terms and like what to look out for and everything. And then I landed my first graphic design internship like a year after.
Wow.
So this was before uni. Yeah, this was before uni. So
all within that short span of prior to uni.
Yeah. And so it was like back to back. So and like I got a role in this like print company lah. And like they deal with like a lot of corporate prints, like huge as like banners and like posters for like corporate like events and whatever. So it was my first exposure into like design as a job and everything.
Yep.
And like at that point, right, my life just like shattered because my perspective of like design was just like fun, like this I don't know, just this like
idealistic,
like this I guess my expectations of like what design was completely different, design as a job. I don't know, like I was just like, wow, like coming to work, like my office was like I think somewhere in Tai Seng at the time. Then after that like we had to walk into this like industrial area, and then after that it's just like kid, and then the rest of them are like more like I think like people who are like 40s and above and everything. Like I was kind of like out of sync basically with all these colleagues of mine. And at that time also, like I had lots of like inspiration. I was like reading up like I was looking at different zines, I was looking at different like graphic designs and everything. And then my colleagues weren't the best colleagues to have when you're just starting out, because like I would like share inspiration with them, then they'll be like, cool, whatever. Can you just do your work, please? Can you like edit this, edit that, and kind of thing, So I was making really like some designs were like very like I guess mundane in a sense that like there was some is like the boss, right? He had like this friend of his, right? And then I had to edit like some paragraph from her son's like exam sheet or something. I was not sure why I was doing that lah. But anyway, I'm not rambling here. But like, so because of that, right? Like I was sitting down in the chair every day. Then I needed like a creative outlet lah. I needed to, with all this like knowledge and everything, like with this like drive or so, like my hands were like so itchy to like really do something that I really wanted to do. So that's when I created like an Instagram account. It wasn't called deadinside at that time. It was just I forgot what the name was. It was something very stupid lah. But like it wasn't mean to like there was no meaning behind it or anything. The whole idea was just to have a platform to just for me to design lah. Then after that, like share things with like friends and everything. So I just created one Instagram account. Then after that, I added like all of my friends on it. And then I was just like sharing like random design stuff. I was doing like collages. I was doing like a lot of like punk inspired like graphics or so. And then after that, friends were like just like comment. And after that, I'm like, wow, shit, okay, you all like it. Okay, I'll do one more. Then after that, I just keep doing and doing. And I think like at that time, while I was doing all of that also, I was also starting to explore more into like different brands that were out there in this whole aesthetic that I was like kind of drawn towards. When you say explore, does it mean that you're buying more branded stuff, or are you researching? Kind of both lah.
Okay.
I remember when I was there, like most of my times, like I mean in at my workplace where I was like interning under, I was I think I was researching into like a couple of like brands and everything, and then after that I was trying so hard to like find a brand that was like like, that kind of like that I kind of like fuck with lah, basically. And then I think I stumbled upon like I think like brands like Brain Dead, for example. Like, and this was like before like they even like blew up. I think like now they're like massive, but like back then they were still just like I think they were running like a couple of like sub brands like Red Brain, for example, and then they were selling like a couple of like t-shirts on their website and everything. Then I remember like I bought one t-shirt and everything. Then after that I was just like trying this out. Then I was like, yo, this shit is like dope. Like graphics. Cause I mean like at that time also I was working in like a printing company. So like my idea of like design is like it always comes out better as like a physical thing. Because like I'm always designing on the computer, and then when it prints out, I was like, oh, okay, you see, like you can do this additional thing, like you can add like gloss, you can do like UV print, like it elevates your design like so much more. And to me, like I guess like when I first like bought my first like Brain Dead like tea, right, like that was like a kind of like a moment for me, like like in terms of like how I can possibly like design something that I really love on a digital like artboard, right? And then after that, like elevate it further on like a t-shirt, for example. And then I just went on this whole spree. I was like, yo, this shit is dope. Then I just keep like exploring and everything. I found this other brand called Domestic. It's an Indonesian streetwear label. And I think they were just like doing really like small like t-shirts. So they were just like selling in I think they actually at that point like they were already selling it in like Potato Head, like Bali. And then like their graphics, they were really inspired by I think like deities and like spiritual figures and culture from like Indonesia. And then I was just like really drawn to this whole idea of like taking all of that like mythical like stuff and everything, and then kind of like giving some form of like punk like treatment with like the graphics and everything, and then translating into like t-shirts. And then then that was when I first like started like designing my first t-shirt lah. I was designing the office, man, like when I had some free time,
like all good employees do.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like when we had some free time, like my colleagues were like, oh, they go out for lunch, and I said like, hey, it's okay, I packed my own lunch, man. Then after that I just like sit down, then I use like Illustrator on the comp to like design everything. Then I was like designing like this t-shirt of mine. This was like the first ever t-shirt I ever designed. Then I was like, whoa, shit, this is dope, man. And then after that, I was like, okay, so how do I get this to print, Then I was like, oh, fuck, is it like printing like paper? Is it like, like you gotta use like some printer, everything? And then I stupidly went to go and ask like other colleagues. I say like, hey, yo, do you know how to print like t-shirt? And then they're like, oh, t-shirt, don't know. Like it's not like paper like that or something like that lah. So I started to explore lah. I learned to learn. I went to research. And then after that came this whole other world of like printing. Like silk screening, DTG. You've got like direct heat press or whatever. And then I was like, oh, okay, wow, all these like terms and everything. And then I think at that time also like a couple of friends, like my brother's friends, they were heavily into all this like design stuff also. And then I saw like on Instagram, I think they were silk screening like tees on their own. So they like actually like bought like the frames, like they bought the ink and everything, and then they were like silk screening their own tees and everything. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's one way I can go about printing this t-shirt lah. So I reached out to them. I said like, hey yo, can you send me like some recs for silk screen and everything. And then after that, I got my first silk screen, and I got my kit, everything really. And then after that, I buy like t-shirts from like Carousel, I think. I bought like,
wow.
Yeah, I just like, hey yo, can I get some blanks from you? Then after that, like I went to like some industry place in like Tai Seng. Then after that, the lady just passed me one bundle and everything. So I just went back and print and everything. And then I was just so drawn to like the whole idea of like, like just printing your own garments itself, like I was like, okay, my whole notion of like printing has always been like machines and everything. And then after that, suddenly I'm like, like this way of printing is more like hands-on, So it became another like interest for me lah. I think like when I was like printing the t-shirts and everything, you know, like you have to there's so many like factors that can affect like the print. Like the type of ink you use, you know, like I think like how long you take to make the second print, for example, kind of affects like the textures, for example. And then that was like damn interesting to me lah. I think like, you know, like for one, like designing it digitally compared to like, you know, printing something, there's so many layers of like complexity. Then yeah, so from there, like I was just printing like my t-shirts and everything, and then I had like this huge bunch of like t-shirts, and then like I don't know.
And you sold everything out.
No.
That's not how the story ends.
No, that's not how the story goes.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, not those kind of like success stories.
Okay,
man.
okay.
Mine is like I took like all the t-shirts, and then like you know, I thought like, okay, maybe like, you know, I don't think I'm anywhere near you know, like selling my stuff lah. I think it's really like it's still like, you know, like I'm still at like that low like level, you know, like I didn't really want to price the things that I do. I don't see value in it other than the time and the design that I put into it lah, basically. So you know, like I guess with that idea in mind, I started giving around to friends. Just giving around to like random people. I remember like I think I just started out like giving like I think just 10 t-shirts, man, right?
Yeah.
Like, to random like friends of mine.
Yep.
And then after that they were like sharing on like Instagram and everything. Then I think like people started asking me, it's like, hey yo, do you still make those t-shirts and everything? I was like, I can make if you want .
Yep.
And then they're like, yo, can you make some for me and everything? So
you sounded surprised.
I was very surprised lah, because like, you know, like I've never actually like gotten like people asking me for like to make more of like something that, you know, I thought I was still like not very like good at. I mean, I still am, but I'm still not like super like refined with my work as well. But like I guess like that whole idea of like, you know, like people fucking with what you do, you know, like there's some form of like satisfaction, you know, in it. So I think at that point, like, you know, I was making a few t-shirts and everything, and then like people telling me like, hey yo, you need to like sell it lah, because if not, like I print, then after that, like I'm really like spending all like,
burning money.
I'm burning money lah, and like yeah, I was burning my savings and everything. I was making like a few, I think, so from 5 it became like 50.
Yeah.
In like a span of like a few weeks, I think. So,
yeah.
Like people just like started spreading and everything lah. Then they say like, hey yo, you need to like do this thing. You know, like hey, there's something there. You know. So I guess from there, like I was still like figuring out lah, like, you know, like where do I want to go with all this? So like, do I want to make it like a business kind of thing, or like do I still want to keep it as an art thing lah? So I decided to like find a balance, you know, like I was selling my stuff like really, very, very, very cheap, like just enough to like break even, for example.
Yep.
So that I can just like take the money and like channel. So that was my idea back then, you know, like every time I was gonna make something, right, it's gonna just like earn me like enough to break even so that I can move on to the next project. But there will never be like excess money that I will pocket. All of the money, you know, will go back like to the next like projects, for example.
That's why you're in designer on business lah. Yeah, very evident.
Yeah. I guess.
So I'm very curious to know. You mentioned that Brain Dead and Domestic were like your early inspirations. Why is that? What about those brands was attractive to you?
I think it was the whole rebelliousness of the brand. I feel like. I think for me, in a sense, like Dead Inside has its own rebelliousness as well.
Okay.
For one, like you know, like as I mentioned, like, you know, like growing up from like a whole like JC route and everything, you know, like, and then suddenly going to like graphic design, you know, and pursuing like graphic design.
Was it a very big decision?
I think at that time it wasn't really like a huge decision, but like
it didn't feel like it.
To me, it didn't feel like it.
Okay.
But to my parents, maybe it's a different perspective.
Sweating buckets, probably.
They were probably like, oh no, like my kid go like JC, and then after that, he go like NUS and whatever. Then now he's doing like graphic design. He's making like zines and stuff, you know. Like,
were they traditional in any sense, or were they like supportive?
Yeah, man.
Are they familiar with the arts? Yeah.
I think one good thing for me was that my brother like paved the way for it.
What does that mean?
Like, because my brother got into motion graphics.
He really did pave the way for you. Yeah,
He literally paved the way for me.
Can I assume he's older than you as well?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he really did pave the way for you.
He paved the way lah. So so I guess like the convincing wasn't that hard on my end lah. I remember it was like just me like saying like, hey, I really just want to do design, you know. Let me do an internship, and then after that like we'll see how it goes from there lah. And then I think my parents were supportive all the way, which was great lah. I think like you know like them like I guess like allowing me to do what I do and everything. Yeah, but it's still restrictive and traditional lah.
Of course, that's the role of a parent. Yeah, the job scope lah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that when you went into your internship, there was a shattering of perceptions.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because of you had this ideal idea of what design is because of what you were consuming, but when push comes to shove, in reality, it's different because you don't see the people printing, you don't see people printing T-shirts, you just see the outcome.
For sure. Yeah. I think for me, like as like, you know, like just fresh out of army and everything, right? My perspective, I guess like, or rather like I think like a majority of people's like perspective of things is always the output lah, as you mentioned. You know, like we don't really see like, sure, maybe we can judge like some form of like hard work from the actual like product itself, you know, like maybe we can see like, oh, there's some care that's been taken around here, you know, there's a lot of like precision that's been like put into like the printing or whatsoever. But I think like for me, like someone who is like totally like with no knowledge of like how it's done and everything, you know, like I couldn't judge the process that goes into all of these like things, you know, like I couldn't judge like how a t-shirt was being made, for example. You know, like I would receive like a t-shirt, for example, like from Brinded, and then after that, like I would just see the prints and say, yo, this graphic is dope. That's it.
Yeah. So it's unfortunately very surface level because you have no conception of what goes behind it.
Exactly, man. It's super surface, and like now when I look at it, like from this like now with like the understanding of like all the processes and everything, and I go back and like look at all these like products and everything, right? It's a mind like opening experience for a brand to do something like that. That during that time, you know, like it was like full on like rebelliousness in a sense, for example. You know, like so back to like the whole idea of like why I guess like these two brands are like main like inspirations for me that like started was all this was I think they were doing things that they really liked. And it's not really like informed by I guess like any form of like hegemony surrounding them at that point in time. So I think for example like Brain Dead, you know, like I think at that time they were just doing like punk inspired graphics, very inspired by like music and everything. Whereas I think like during that point in time, right, like there were so many brands popping out of nowhere that's doing like I guess like skateboarding culture was a huge thing, you know. Palace, like Supreme and everything, you know. All of them have like some form of like story and like ethos and everything. But Brain Dead and like I think Domestic as well, they both have their own story to tell. And it's not like, you know, like, oh shit, like skate culture is going to be so big, man. Let's just do like a skate brand, you know, and then after that, tell that same story that every brand has been telling. They really did something of their own. They really like took inspirations from their own roots, for example. And, you know, like try and tell a story that no other brand has been telling, basically. So I think like, for example, Domestic was like this interesting like brand that I was like noticing at that time, you know, like they had this like graphics of like gods and like deities, you know, you got a Balinese like gods and everything.
And it's very heavily inspired by their own culture, right? Yeah,
exactly. The graphic designer, he's based in Indonesia as well, and now he's been working on like so many brands, so like streetwear brands like Powers.
That's
so like I think that kind of like dawned on me also, you know, like it was like if you were to start a brand, you know, like it had to be something that's true to you, or like, you know, it's not like because hey, this thing is popular, right? Then you gotta do it, basically.
It's interesting because it seems as though it kind of forced you to reflect upon why you're doing it in the first place. Because I listen to a lot of people, let's say starting their own thing, streetwear, street culture inspired, let's say in the 90s. They were doing it out of necessity. They were doing it out just for self-expression. There wasn't as much thought into it. It's because there was a lack, then they just did it and people fucked with it. But right now it seems I'm hearing because of, I think like 20, 30 years of street culture has lapsed. But right now there's a saturation of it. And these pioneer brands like Braindead and Domestic, they kind of force you to think like, why do you even want to start it in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. For sure. I think like Singapore also like when I was first like printing like t-shirts, for example, right? The whole process of like getting a t-shirt like printed like maybe like 6 years back, for example, right, was like really difficult.
How so?
For one, like okay, like I think for me, like because I was starting it out as an individual, right? And then like you know, like printing like a simple graphic, for example, there's this whole idea of like what minimum order quantities and whatever. So like I will have like a set budget, for example, right? Because I'm like literally like I don't have any money or whatever. And then after that I'll go to like the auntie and say like, hey auntie, can I print this like t-shirt? Then after that she'll look at it. Then after she'll like, how many you want to print? Then I'm like, oh, can I print 10?
And did you get chased out?
Yeah, man, she just gave me like the stare. She's like, 10? Nobody prints 10, man. Like then I was like, oh, so how many do I have to print now? Then she's like, oh, you got to print like at least like 50 or 100 now. You know? And then that was like a huge like I guess like barrier for me lah, basically, because I literally I can't like see myself like spending like so much money at that point in time to print like 100 only to like sell like maybe like 10 or 20, you know, like
there was that fear there, like,
there was that fear lah, there was that fear, you know, and this was me like literally like just like starting, you know, like I don't have any I don't have any like friends that are like completely like, you know, like say like, hey yo, I'll buy everything you make, you know. I have like no like base or anything, you know. I was just like doing something that I want to do, and then there's this huge like barrier of like financial barrier in a sense.
So what prompted you to push past that?
You know, like, so I was still really drawn to the whole idea of like printing t-shirts and everything. I think I didn't really want like this like whole idea of like MOQ or whatever to like stop me and everything. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was just I really wanted to get it out on a t-shirt, like the graphics that I've done. And I mean I was still like at this point in time I'm still like looking at like all these like other brands, like you know, that they're really like getting all these like cool ass like graphics on like t-shirts and everything, you know, like, you got like celebrities like wearing them. Then I was like, yo, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna let this like auntie like stop me from doing what I want to do.
The auntie's a metaphor for something else.
The auntie's a metaphor, man.
Okay.
Yeah, like
the auntie's probably just like looking at you. It's like, 你要吗? Okay,
man, the auntie was like, okay, you know what? You don't want to print for me, right? Okay, never mind. I won't come back to you again. It's alright. I don't need your business, man. So I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna let this like auntie like tell me like, hey, yo, I can't do this and whatever thing lah. So I went to like just learn how to print on my own. So I then again I bought more like silk screen frames and everything. Then I was starting to learn more about like how you handle like the pressure of like printing and everything, you know, like the I don't know what, there was like somewhat, you need to think about like the distance between the frame when it comes in contact with like the t-shirt or something, you know. I was just like I had to pick all this up lah if I wanted to make like consistent like prints and everything. Cause I mean, like for one, like the all these like corporate printing businesses, right? They have all those like silk screen machines and everything, you know, and then they can really control like the quality of the print. I'm like literally just printing in my living room, man. Like, I got my table down there, then I bought like some screws from Taobao, just like screw it down to the table, and then after that I just print. And then like when I first did it, right, every t-shirt looks fucking different. Okay. The print, one of them was like too thick, one of them was too thin, one of them was just nice. And then I bought like 50 t-shirts and I think only like 20 came out nice. And then I was like just like blown up. I was like destroyed, man. I was like, oh shit, how am I gonna like give this away to people? Like imagine like some guy takes a picture of the shirt and then another guy takes a picture of the shirt. It's the same shirt but it looks fucking different. I can't lah. So like I was like destroyed lah at that point also, like, you know, like this was another hurdle for me. First one was the auntie lah. The second one is this.
So what happens next? You have 20 out of 50. that is good in your eyes, what happens next? Because I would assume the first hurdle is just to produce the t-shirt. The next hurdle is to sell it.
The t-shirts. Yeah. So selling them, I guess like what was that? What was the standard like website? Oh, Big Cartel. The standard ones. So I opened up a Big Cartel.
Yeah.
And then at that point in time, I was like thinking, okay, it needs to be like a nice name and everything, you know. It needs to have some form of like thing that people will remember, you know. And then I think I was really like thinking very hard for like a name lah, you know. I didn't want to like throw something like stupid, like I don't know, like some random ass name, but that doesn't have like any form of value to me, or like any form of like I don't know, it doesn't really like embody what I feel and everything. And then I remember like I recall like when I was in army, right? I kind of like dreaded my time there lah.
Fair enough.
You know, I'm sure everybody does. And then like you know, like every day I'm just like going to camp and everything. Then I just like look like, oh shit, I have to do this again. And then I think like someone like came up to me and said like, hey, you today you look fucking dead inside, dude. Like, and then like I think that term itself like kind of it kind of encapsulated like whatever like led me to where I am right now. I think I was like, I mean, for one, like I was in I guess like elite schools, for example, you know, I was really like pursuing like high flying like grades and everything, you know. And then but every day I was just like toiling away like burning like late nighters, you know. I was like studying, you know, and then after that being compared to like other people, you know, and then after that like I don't know, just like the whole idea of it, like it was really like captured lah within like the term itself, you know. Like I didn't really like what I was doing, you know, but I'm still doing it anyway. And I didn't really want to do that for the rest of my life. So I was like, okay lah, fuck it lah, let's call it Dead Inside lah.
It just resonated with you.
It just resonated. It just clicked at that point in time lah, basically. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Like let's just call it Dead Inside lah, because it was like something that what I'm doing right now is a reaction to what I hated.
Over the past couple of years.
So I thought that name itself like really reflected all of that. And that's when I first named it like what it is, like Dead Inside. And then it was like Dead Inside bigcartel.com because I cannot pay for the domain.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Perfect, man. Like easy, like $10 a month kind of subscription. So then that was when I started like selling the t-shirts lah, like the 20 t-shirts and everything.
You're gonna say that it's a perfect it's a perfect process and nothing went wrong and full stop.
It was smooth sailing at first lah.
Okay.
It was smooth sailing at first lah. You know, like friends would like ping me, say like, hey, yo, I'm gonna buy your shit now and everything. And after that buy it, and after easy like just like send off and everything. The other hurdles I guess is like, you know, like starting to figure out like things like postage, you know, like shipments and everything. But at that time it was just friends, so like, you know, it was chill, you know. I just like pack it into like a nice plastic bag, you know. Then after that, like, hey, yo, here's your t-shirt, man. Then after my friend would just like, he don't even think about it, he just take out the plastic bag, like, yo, sick dude. Then he just like put on and wear it. And then like you know, like I think like thinking back also, like, you know, there's some form of like honesty with like the works I was doing at that time, you know. Like I didn't really care about like you know, like packing it like super nicely in like a proper like Ziploc and everything. It was just like throwing into like a plastic bag and after giving to my friends and everything. That whole exchange, I guess, like, you know, like it was really like raw in a sense. Well, I mean, like, of course, like over time, you know, like when you start to like when I start to like figure out like other things, like how to make like the whole experience like better, then that kind of got improved over time lah. I wouldn't say like now it's not say like honest or whatever, but like it's just funny lah to think back at that time, you know, like plastic bags and whatnot.
I'm curious to know like the process that you went through just to get out. I think initially just to figure out how to print everything leading up just to just one design, everything. Do you think it will forever inform, I guess, how you will want to structure the brand? Because instead, alternatively, if you really have the knowledge, you could just send it off to have it printed by someone else, and you're not so in touch with the process. I
think like for now, right? I am like printing with someone else right now, but I guess like there's just so many things that you can do like by yourself, but like, you know, there's a lot of things that like for example, like consistency. You know, like for one, like I don't have like a studio, for example, you know. I don't have like a proper setup and
You still have the living room?
Just my living room.
Okay, cool.
I still have that. But I mean like there was that whole like, I guess like over time as it grew more and more, you know, like consistency needs to be something that we have to pay very, very close attention to. And not on top of like consistency, there's also like quality and you know, like for one, like okay, maybe I'm like the guy who's designing things, you know, but I can't be like the other guy. I mean, I can, but I guess I have to invest in all of that, and like the money is like, fuck man, I don't have that money basically. So I think over time, like, you know, when I was making like t-shirts and everything, I kind of like noticed that, you know, like the amount of like losses I was getting from screwing up the prints and the amount of dissatisfaction I was getting from screwing up the prints, right, I think it was more like
it's troubling.
It was more troubling than, you know, like sending it to someone, and then after that, maybe if they screw up a bit, right, then after that you just have to tell them, say like, hey yo, actually I want this. You show me the sample, I see the sample, I'll tell you, and then the next few iterations will be more or less like what I want already, basically. Yeah, I think like the whole for like the whole process, I mean like you know, when you get like the whole screen and everything, right, you get all the prints, then you're like super excited, like fuck yeah, I'm going to go back and like print some t-shirts and like share with people what I've made and everything, you know. Then suddenly you print it, that thing come out like shit. Unfortunately, yeah, you know, then I get like fucking frustrated as well, like wow, dude. Then the worst is like, you know, like I print, then after that I remember my hands got like some like ink.
Did you touch it?
Then I grabbed the thing, and then the whole thing was just covered in like fingerprints. I was like, yo, fuck, I just like fucking wasted this goddamn like t-shirt, man. I was like, yeah, I think it's just more troubling for me to do it all by myself lah. So and there are like tons of like great printers out there. Definitely. Especially now, I think in the past like 2-3 years, you know, there wasn't really like many. Like a lot of it was very big like corporate like businesses that very high.
That was the market.
Yeah. That was the market. The market, you know. And I think a lot of like Singapore brands also like they struggle with all of this also, because for one, like, you know, we always want to have this like, oh, support local culture and everything, you know, but like all these like big like corporate businesses and everything, right? They are not I guess like we can't work with them, especially when we are just like starting out. So this whole like new brands, you know, they have a very nice idea in mind and everything. Then suddenly they go to the auntie and like, yeah, 100 MOQ is like, it's not possible basically. But now I think like over the past few years, you know, like more businesses, smaller businesses have been like opening up, and you know, they have been offering I guess more flexible arrangements for creatives, artists and everything, you know, and I think it's been very refreshing to see like, you know, like all these like brands, all these like companies start to bring in like t-shirts that, you know, like are not your usual kind of like t-shirts. For example, like I see like last time, right, back then, right, it was people always printing on like Gildans, for example, you know, you always see the same cuts of like t-shirts and everything, right? So every time you see the t-shirt, the fit always look the same, you know, it's just a different print. But now, you know, like there's so many brands that are bringing in different cuts of like t-shirts and everything.
That's dope.
And you start to see lots of like diversity. Some people still like to stick to like, you know, like Jordan. I mean, like, okay, that's like the...
Don't knock it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but there's some brands that, you know, that have been like pushing, you know, like in terms of like the base t-shirts they use and everything. And for me, like, I'm not like a fashion designer, so I don't like make the t-shirts from scratch or anything. But I at the same time also, like, we want to, you know, like try and push the boundaries with what we do. So like for now, like our clothes, we source it from like China. And like we get the base from China basically, and we print it like locally.
Gotcha.
So we don't completely do it overseas. I think really there's lots of like great businesses here that help to offer like quality like prints, you know, and they really help your work like come to life in like the best way possible as well.
I want to take a little bit of tangent. I'm curious to know your thoughts about supporting local. Like the phrase, it's been touted a lot more over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I think there's been a push to really propel the idea of living your passions. I think from a countrywide initiative.
Yeah.
And you as a Singaporean brand, a brand based in Singapore actually.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's I guess like, you know, that term, as you said, like, you know, it's being thrown around like so much and everything, but I feel like it's not being like honored as much
How so?
as I don't know, man. I think for me, right, like for one is that like, or rather, okay, like let me start like in terms of like my perspective. I think that whole like you know, like support local, right, is very prevalent in things like food, for example. I don't know why. I think maybe food is just like the pinnacle of like Singaporean like culture and everything.
Yep.
But like, you know, like in the music scene and like in the like the design scene as well, like I don't know, it's just not as prevalent as I think or like I would want it to be, I feel.
What does the ideal look like then?
I can see it more from like the music perspective, I guess, because like, you know, like back then I was like in a band and everything, and I think we were struggling to like find shows and everything. I mean, maybe our music is bad lah.
Perhaps, yeah.
Perhaps it was bad or whatever.
But was it just like a feeling you felt like it was very difficult to exist as a band if you don't have shows, you don't make music, then technically how else can you make money?
Yeah, I mean, it always boils down to money. But I think at that point in time, it was like this whole cloud chasing.
What do you mean by that?
So I think like back then when we were like my band and I, like we were like jamming and everything. Some of the band members had like a different perspective lah of where we should go with like music and everything. And then after that, they keep throwing around like we need to be like good, we need to be like popular and everything. And then like the only way to be like popular and like recognized by locals, right, is to play something that locals listen to and locals like. So like to my band members like point of perspective, right, what he's saying is that, you know, like we need to create something that is appreciated by the mass audience for us to get some form of recognition lah. And I think at that point in time, like, you know, we weren't really doing like pop music or whatever.
We're doing metal or something?
We were doing like progressive metal, man, which is like I don't know who, like there are a few people that listen to it lah.
Yeah.
You know, like probably in like some small like room or something, but not like a freaking like Bay Beats or whatever, that kind of thing. But everybody was like, yo, we need to get to Bay Beats because Bay Beats is like a measure of success for bands. Back then.
I keep hearing about that. Yeah.
And I think there were many like ways on like how you can get to Bay Beats. And I think like you know, for me, like I didn't really like fuck with like the whole process lah, because, you know, that doesn't measure like your success as like a musician or a band. You know, like it doesn't mean that you need to do something popular that like everybody likes, right, for you to achieve like some form of like success in your own definitions lah. And I think like I don't know why, but like that kind of like ties in with like the whole like support local thing. I don't know why. I think maybe because like this whole like underground like culture itself, you know. For one, it's underground. You know, like even if it's not local support, like there's always gonna be like a lack in like support in general. You know, like I think for one is that this whole scene itself, right? There's always gonna be like that struggle to like get some form of like support, like from friends and like from family and like from, I don't know, just people around us in general. And I would say like I think like the stuff that I'm doing like in terms of like design, in terms of like music as well, like there's always been a lot of like struggle. I think like the struggle that we have like with underground stuff is definitely going to be like a lot more in like general, but like I think you know, like with at least like friends that have like done this, you know, they've always wished that they could get like more support. You know, they've always like applied for grants and everything, and then like it's always been like like rejected in a sense. But I don't know. I think I guess that's my perspective lah. It's more like underground, so it's not really a very I guess like over like arcing like view on like what it actually is.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I think for some reason also like I feel like we've always liked things that are overseas rather than like or like international brands rather than like local music, because for one, I think like we have this like compare culture lah, you know, like when we grow up, you know, like we like Singaporean culture and like whole like the whole education system, you know, like we always like compare with one another. Like or rather like our folks always like compare us to like other like kids, you know, like like why this guy getting like A+ for Chinese, then why your Chinese like D at it? Then it kind of get like ingrained into like at least for me, it kind of like got ingrained into me. And I think like over time, you know, like as those like you know, like emotions and like reactions to things like kind of like manifest, you know, like it kind of like I guess like it develops like a culture of like a compare culture lah, where you know like people start to say like, hey, yo, this brand do this, but then like you can pay this amount and like get this like other quality like brand from like overseas, you know.
Yep.
So like there's always been like I feel like there's always been like some form of like I wouldn't say like a dislike lah. It's more of like, you know, like it's there, like like local brands, local music and everything is all there. But then there's always this thing like, oh, I can get it better somewhere else, you know.
I would imagine the globalization of everything doesn't really help though.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
The fact that you can just go, let's say, online, like an online distributor, let's say like Hypebeast, or you go to their site, you can just buy it. You wait, let's say 2 weeks, you get it in the mail. Yeah,
I think it makes it worse, maybe. You know, like I guess like there's always this grass is greener on the other side thing when it comes to like not just like you know, like moving abroad, for example, but like in terms of like any form of like creative any form of like creativity down here as well. Like people always talked about like how creativity like overseas is like, you know, like or international like what across like other countries, you know, like it's always like you can be more creative there, you know, like the things you can do there is like probably like more than down here, that kind of thing. I guess like that notion, at least for me, has like kind of been like ingrained in me to the point that like, you know, like every time I do things also, like I start to like compare with like other brands overseas also. Like, am I doing something that like what Braindead is doing? You know, like am I achieving that level of like quality, that level of like community like management and everything? Yeah, and then like I think like, you know, like as those kind of like I perspectives like grow on me as well, like that whole like want to like support local, right, it starts to like, you know, like the light starts to like dim a little bit but it's not like to say that, you know, like hey, like I don't appreciate like the quality here. I do. It's just that, you know, like over time, right, that I feel like a lot of my friends also, like they do experience like over time, right, they start to like look for options overseas, for example. But I think over time, you know, like my roots are still here and everything. So there was a point in time where I was really like, hey, like I need to sell my brand overseas rather than local. I need to start marketing stuff overseas. I think it will grow better overseas. And I think if I print overseas, like the quality will be better. But I think that shouldn't be the case lah, you know. You should always pay respects to like you know, like where I'm from and everything, you know, like what I've grown up with, you know, the struggles and like who has been helping like the culture and everything. And I think like over time, you know, there's been lots of like people that are trying to push the boundaries in terms of like providing like creative solutions, you know. For example, like as I mentioned, the print shops, for example, you know, they're offering like I guess like just allowing brands to like start on like whatever ground they want to start on. And it's crazy because like I think back then, you know, like I really struggled so much to like find the right things I want to like find.
There's a lot of resistance.
There's a lot of resistance. So I think all this resistance is kind of like, you know, like as I mentioned, like the whole like support local for me, right? Like it was kind of dim at that time. I had to go to like Malaysia to like find t-shirts, you know. Then after that I had to like, my Chinese is fucking bad, so like I had to like use like Taobao and then like get my girlfriend to like translate in Chinese to talk to the guy to get like the specific like prints that I want. But then like I think over time, right, I start to see all these like new like shops and like new people like starting to offer all these like new services here. And then after that, me like shifting my focus and like, hey yo, I want to like support your business, man.
Yep.
Let me print my t-shirts with you guys. And then the quality that comes with it is like, it just changed my whole perspective, lah, I think. And I think people just need to give it a shot, you know, like in whatever they do. I think in terms of like music, in terms of like art also, like it's about giving like local like people like the support and the opportunity lah, basically.
Yep.
So I would say like the perspective is like it's lingering around, but it's just that, you know, like some people haven't really like looked deeper and see that, you know, like, hey, actually we have all of these like talents around us and everything. In terms of music also, for example, like there are like I guess like gigs and like there's different like collectives, you know, they're like throwing like dope ass like parties and everything, which was not that prevalent like a couple of years back and everything. And then like back then people were saying like, oh, Singapore music is like shit and everything, you know, the whole nightlife and everything is like kind of bad. And suddenly we start to see like more and more of these like parties and everything, you know, as things like start to open up. And you start to see more creative like music producers as well, like coming out of the scene and everything. So yeah, I think all of this, to be honest, like I think it really just grows. It takes time lah, basically, you know. As time goes, you know, like we start to recognize like the problems and everything that we have, you know, there's all these solutions will start to pop up and everything, and then that kind of like, I guess like refines the perspective that, you know, like, hey, like looking abroad isn't a solution, and looking abroad doesn't mean it's better, you know, like we have all the resources here, we just need to look deeper, and then, you know, like with that, right, we can actually achieve like the quality and like work that international like companies can also achieve, you know. So
I think the funny thing about culture, or if you looked into how any particular subculture started or the genesis of it, it is always born from the individuals that are within it. It's oftentimes not a government body or an entity saying, oh, we want to start a culture like this. It's usually born from, I think, the backbreaking work of the previous generations of people in the culture, passing down, I guess, the lineage and the stories, and just the people within it expanding forth. And hopefully, with enough time, the perspective will shift, because perspectives are always changing.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's really about, you know, like a group of people coming together with the same ideas. And then this group of like driven individuals start to do their own things. And then as that starts to spread and everything, you know, like that becomes like a movement. That becomes like a community. And then, you know, like as all of those like things that start to grow over time, you know, that's when you start to see like, I guess like all these like interesting groups of people like coming out of nowhere, interesting brands, like parties and everything. I think like, and I think over the past few years, you know, like all of these like groups of individuals, like they're starting to come up like from their like holes and everything, you know, just like crawling out here and there, you know, going to like parties, you know, like you're hearing like very interesting forms of music, for example. You start to see like very interesting form of like graffitis, like streetwears and everything, you know.
There's a lot more space for creativity to thrive, basically.
There's a lot more space lah. And I think, as you mentioned also, like over time, you know, like all of these things start to appear. And it's not like, you know, in one point of time where like, hey, this thing needs to happen, and then it suddenly just like booms out of nowhere. It's like, it takes time lah. I think like it takes time, it takes energy. For one, it's like, you know, like Singapore, like, you know, in terms of like creative explorations and everything, you know, like the whole idea of like, you know, we need like grants and everything to do this, you know, it's a lot of effort lah. There's a lot of like energy like needed to be like invested in like all of these kind of things. But I'm starting to see more like grants being like given out and everything. I'm starting to see like more spaces being utilized for like creative works, for example. And I'm starting to see more and more like people like come to like shows, and like which is amazing lah. I think like you know, like we need to continue like doing all this like things that, you know, like sets us apart from what people think like should be like popular and everything. And like start to drive like subculture.
Yep.
Basically.
I think it's ultimately a lot of those things. I also feel that it's like a confluence thing. It's like you have what you see that could be a boundary and someone else could be seeing it as an opportunity. I think until someone has that idea and tries to do it and executes it, that is how the boundaries are shifted. And I also think it's interesting if you were in NS right now and you were looking at the scene, I think the inception of the brand might be different because it's a different time when you started the brand. It's just a different feeling because so much things happening right now. Yeah.
For sure. I think like for me, like I always try to see like gaps that I can fill. Like for me, like for example, like in music, like back then, like when I first like pick up like guitar and everything, like you play like those usual like songs and everything.
Okay.
And then like back to that whole compare like culture, everything, like you always think like, hey, this guy is doing this already, man. Like why do you want to do the same thing? Like don't you have like a different story to tell? Like I don't need so many people telling me the same story.
Yep.
And then like I guess like for me, like I've really like fucked with that perspective lah. I didn't want to be like just a face in a crowd, like for example, I don't think like everybody like wants that to be the case as well. I think it's really about like there's a lot of factors that like affects that kind of perspective lah. Like sometimes when we are doing like a t-shirt for example, and then we start to have this thought like, shit, will this thing sell?
Fair, yeah.
If it doesn't sell, right, then we've literally like just like splurge like a huge chunk of like money, like, and it's just sitting down there and like it's going to waste, for example. But I think like it's really about like, like for one, it's like finding the right people that can help to support you on that lah, for example. Like I think when I was first doing like music by myself and everything, I was just like exploring all these tunes and everything, like keeping my bedroom and everything,
So from the living room and the bedroom, fantastic.
Living room, the bedroom, everything all within my house, man. Every form of like creative exploration all happens in my house. Like I think like I guess like it has like parallels with like the brand also, like when I was doing all these like explorations, like support is extremely important lah,
is it just monetary or is it other forms of support?
So I think it's like just support all around. Like, I mean, monetary, yes. But I mean, like, to be honest, like we don't like try to like, hey, yo, I need you to help me like fund me for this shit and everything. It's like if like I don't get like funds for it, then I'm like, okay lah, whatever lah, I'll just wait for like another month. Then after that, once my salary like comes in, I'll just like do it and everything. So that's like the least like I think important like form of like support lah. It's more of like I guess like emotional support, like friends that like like fuck with your work and everything, they come and like support your stuff and everything. The last thing you want to do, as like a band, like you perform and then like the whole dance floor is empty. Like your friends could be there, but like your friends is not even there.
Gotcha.
That's like the worst like thing to have.
Yep.
And like I think like over time, like there's been so many like form of like support that we've been getting, like in terms of like design, in terms of like music, for example, like gigs, whatever. Like people are starting to be more and more like supportive and everything lah. Like comparatively like back then as well, like I think now like people are being more open. I think for one, like people are also being more aware of like what local people can bring to the table as well.
That's good.
Yeah. I think it's really about like all these different like groups of individuals like really coming together and then like, like pulling all of those resources and then starting something that they really like, and then all these people, they are like in their freaking like caves and everything, start to see like, hey, yo, there's this very cool like interesting like drum and bass party, man. Like I listen to drum and bass, but all my friends don't listen to drum and bass, man. Maybe I can make friends with them. Then they start to crawl out of their caves, and then after they come, and then like it forms like a even like bigger, like close knitted like community and everything. I think that's like what I'm seeing right now, lah. I think cool. Like this whole support local thing. I wish it could be more. But it's definitely way better than like back then. And I think it will definitely get better like in the years to come. Yeah.
So you mentioned about when you guys want to produce a t-shirt and you guys have, I guess, the thought that what if it doesn't sell?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what what are the decisions, or what's like the checklist you have like to make the decision? Okay, we will produce this or we won't produce this. What are you guys running by? Is it intuition? Is it just a risk? Yeah.
I think we don't necessarily have like a checklist per se lah, because I think like when we start to think about like too many things, right, it will start to affect like, you know, like the things that we do lah, like our craft and everything, like our designs and everything as well. So like we try to not like think about like whether things would sell and everything, but at the same time we will try to like, hey, like maybe we don't over invest into this. So
what does that mean? Yeah,
like we'll play like more conservative lah. So like I won't like, I think this shit is like dope, I'm gonna print like 50 of this and I know it confirm like will sell out within like a few seconds, that kind of thing. We won't like whack lah.
Okay.
So we'll do like very like small like pieces, small quantities and everything. We try to play like conservative here and there, and then after that, you know, like if it sells out, then it sells out lah.
Yep.
And then if it doesn't sell, then okay, you see, like at least we didn't really like spend so much onto it.
It's a very different thought process than the you like 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's like now you got to think about all these like factors, right? Like fuck, I'm like, it's like them like it's them like mind block lah sometimes, like as in like, you know, like when you're designing something halfway, then after that like, oh shit, this graphic is a bit too like dude, this thing is like too like avant-garde, man, like
avant-garde, interesting.
I think like, hey, I think I need to tone it down a bit, man, later cannot sell.
But all these like internal voices, or do you have like someone to I guess to check?
Oh no, these are like just internal voices.
Okay.
Like I always have this like side of me that's like telling me like, hey yo, don't go too hard on like the weird side of things, you know, like you need to tone it down for like the mass people like appreciate. So
that leads me to my next question. As I guess like a brand, as a business owner, how do you toe the line between, I guess, the mainstream and I guess the fringe? Yeah, because as a business, I mean, the impetus or the agency of a business is to make money, which is, it lies in the mainstream. Yeah. But I guess culturally, you're more interested in a different subculture, which is the fringe. So how do you toe the line between the two?
I think first, like we tried more recently, like we've been doing like different approaches lah for like the way we make things, for example. So I think last year we did like 4 or 5 different like collabs with different like artists. And I think the good thing about like collaborating with like artists from like different disciplines as well, like for one is like you guys can come together and make something like totally unique that like ourselves as like individuals will be able to make. But at the same time, you know, like it's like a mixture of like 2 different like communities like supporting and everything. So I think like to your question, right, like it's really about like, you know, like we have this idea. You know, we want to make something that's super like avant-garde, you know, but at the same time, like we have this like fear, like, hey, like, you know, like this one's a bit too, it's not aligned with like, you know, like what our fans would like and everything. But can we mix a medium, where, you know, like we can kind of push some form of like, you know, like interesting, like, application to like the design. So for example, like I think we did like a couple of like ceramics with one of my friends who was like ceramicist, and like you know, we really wanted to push this idea of like conveying like urban decay, for example. And then like I think initially my idea was like I wanted to print like a couple of t-shirts, and then after that like do like some like dye that looks like dirt and everything, you know. Then I had that voice again. I was like, okay, like, hey, I don't think people will want to like wear those kind of like things, you know, like or rather if they do, it's probably like a small group of people lah. Then I was like, what are interesting mediums could we then like portray that idea with lah. And I think like at that time, you know, like I was just like chatting with my friend, and he said like, oh, I was like doing like ceramics and everything. Then I was like, oh, okay, maybe that idea could be conveyed in a different way lah. It could be conveyed in a different medium and everything. And I always kind of wanted to learn like how to make like my own like marks and everything. So like I just collaborated with him. I just told him like, hey yo, can you just teach me like you know, like how do I go about like doing like hand molds and everything. So I spent like a good like I think 3 months just like learning, you know, like doing the whole like pinching like process. Then after that learning how to glaze, and then we had to fire the ceramics and everything.
And you're a good ceramicist now. It doesn't work that way. Okay. That seems to be the common thread throughout this episode.
No. I'm very bad at like making
Gotcha.
ceramics. I am very, very, very bad at it.
Gotcha.
Takes years of practice, but I think at least we were able to, because I think for us, right, we not necessarily say like we want to make this. It's more of like we have a idea that we want to push. So it's not like hey,
you're not tied to a specific medium.
correct. Like I don't have to. I don't really like draw a fine line between like the like, for example, like the graphics or like the t-shirt that I use. It's more of like if I want to draw like a line, right, it's more of like the concept that I'm trying to like portray and everything. I think there was one also, like we wanted to do something that was like more like metaversey.
What does that mean?
So we wanted to do something that was kind of digital, but like had some form of like physical touch into it. So initially,
Two different things. It's like two opposing things.
Yeah. So we wanted to I guess like make like clothes that are wearable in like the metaverse. Like,
you're not making sense. Sure. Okay, continue.
Clothes in the metaverse.
Yep.
So like if you have an avatar,
Yep.
like they can basically wear it. You can
Fair.
buy it and wear it.
Yep.
Basically. But that concept is like an interesting concept, right? But like, like we have to draw the line there because, we make physical stuff. We make like clothes, we make like ceramics, right? Like digital clothes is like, who the hell would buy it, man? Like who, like our like the people like following us are like, so if they will see like digital clothes out of nowhere, they'll be like, what the fuck? Like you're not, I didn't support you for this, man.
Yep.
Yep. But so we wanted to draw a line between like, or rather no, we wanted to convey in a way that it's still acceptable, it's still comfortable for us.
Yep.
So I hit up like one of my friends who was a augmented reality like artist.
Sick.
He does like AR like experiences and everything. Yep. So we actually designed a t-shirt where if you were to scan it with your phone, the graphics, right, will come to life.
Yep.
Basically. So it becomes like a wearable like form of like piece that has both like the physical and like the digital touch to it. So I think our ideas itself, like it's always like we have this idea, but then like in terms of the medium we convey, right, it's always like
it's flexible.
It's flexible. And sometimes t-shirts aren't always the correct like medium to like portray all of this. Sometimes it's it can be like ceramics.
Yep.
It can be like spinning up like AR like filters to like like let people like interact with your designs and everything. So I think for us, like like as a brand, we don't tie ourselves to like limiting ourselves in terms of like the medium lah. We are trying to do more like platforms, different like explorations. For example, I think like music as well. Like we were doing like a podcast with a radio station in Hong Kong, for example. I think the whole idea like stemmed from like shedding more light on all these like underground like artists and everything, and we couldn't do that through clothes, for example.
It doesn't make sense.
And all these people are like doing very, very like interesting like music, like very, very interesting like productions and everything. And it'd be kind of a waste to just print like a graphic and then like, like say like, hey, we collaborated with this like guy, it doesn't showcase his work lah, for example. And then so like I thought like, hey, okay, this Hong Kong like radio station, they were calling out for like residencies. They say like, hey, yo, do you want like run your own show and everything?
Yep.
And I was like, okay lah, you know what, like fuck it lah, it's COVID, like I got nothing to do also. Then whatever lah. So I just like sent an application, like, hey, under the brand, we would like to host a show where we can showcase like a couple of like friends, family, and like people that we really found like very like inspirational in terms of like music and everything.
Yep.
And then after we got a residency, and then we did like a monthly like podcast lah. So we were featuring about of them are like Singaporeans. And then there was a Malaysian friend of mine, a couple of like other friends from like overseas as well. And we had like a story. So like the story was like like paint a picture of like what you think like an apocalypse would look like.
Because of COVID?
It wasn't because of COVID lah. It's just like I don't know why. I think it's like our brand is just always like very
maybe it's
drawn.
just you.
Yeah, it's just me. We're just like very drawn to like those like post-political concepts, basically. So that was like the story lah. And then after that, they told it in their own like approach and everything, which was very, very interesting because people had like different forms of like perspective of what like the end of the world might look like. Some was like bliss, some was like very peaceful, like meditative sounds. Some was like just like harsh, like noise and everything, and all of that cannot be conveyed like from like prints or like the graphics that we do and everything. So it was a big like different medium for us to like really channel all of this like creative like works that our friends are doing. So I think like for us, right, like we have a lot of like concepts and like stories, but then like we try not to limit ourselves to one specific medium and everything. So I guess back to your point again, it's really not about like drawing a line between like the I guess like the production of the thing, but it's more of like like the story. If like this story is like, hey, like we cannot like fuck with this like story and everything, then then we won't like push it lah. But if we have a story that we really, really want to tell, right, like if t-shirts don't work, if like sound doesn't work, like then we'll find another medium lah. We'll definitely find a way lah. Yeah.
I'm curious to know, how has your own creative process changed throughout the brand, the lifespan of the brand?
Creative process changed.
Has it?
I don't think it's changed, or rather like
so still as chaotic.
Or rather, it's always changing to the point that like that's the style. Right?
So what is it like now? Yeah.
I don't know. It's very hard to describe.
You can show me your Pinterest board after.
I can send you all my mood boards lah. But it's always been very how to say, like, it's always been very as you mentioned, like chaotic lah. I would say like I try to I guess push like in terms of like graphical like norms, in terms of like how you, like for example, like you execute a t-shirt, for example, like there's always the standard like places where you like put a print, maybe like the left chest standard, the back standard, for example. But we try to like break away from that, try to like move beyond like what is deemed as like normal for like I don't know, like any approaches towards like creative stuff. So I think it's always like, my process is always about like when I'm designing something, right? First it will be like something I like, like I'll put together, Pinterest mood board. I'll put together everything, right? Then after that I'll put together and then I would think of a story. So let's say if I had this like idea for like a collection, and it's gonna be like centered around avant-garde music, for example. And then after that I'll have this story that's telling about like, how experimental musicians in the past, how did they approach like graphical notations, for example? Do they normally write their scores like in a linear way, or like do they like scribble it all over the paper and everything? And then I'll take all of those like graphics and like approaches, right? And then after that I'll try to like convey in like the thing that I'm designing. But at that point in time, I won't be thinking of like the medium. Okay. So it will be like, okay, I'll just do this like poster. So everything starts from a poster actually. Like I don't design like I want to do this t-shirt. Then after that, I will design within the constraints of a t-shirt. I will like design like freely. Like I think most of the times it starts on like an A2 paper lah. Like I'll just do like an A2 like artboard, and then I'll throw everything in. And then after that, I will start to think like, okay, maybe it works as like a maybe like an all over printed like shirt, for example. Then after that, I will start to shift the design accordingly to the medium. And then if it works on a t-shirt, for example, then I'll just like adjust it accordingly lah. But it always starts with like, like piecing together like a story, and then piecing together all the supporting like imagery and everything, and then doing a collage like graphic first before like arranging it into the medium, basically. Yeah, and I think that's always been like my approach lah. And I think I guess the only thing that's like kind of changing is like more of like my, I don't know, like graphical inspirations, I guess. Because now I think like back then, you know, like it was I was very drawn to like very like cultish, you know, like punkish stuff. And then I think like over time, you know, like as my interest in like music and like art grew, like, and I started to explore more of this like underground like graphics and everything, those inspirations kind of like morph like my aesthetics, I guess, towards the brand.
Yep.
But in terms of my approach itself, it's still like that same structure basically. It's just my visual like perception of what I think is like dope and everything just changes over time. Yeah.
What I find most interesting about, I think, the collections you have on your site, it's very well documented. Like the inspirations and I guess through writing, through the music that was inspiring to you. Yeah. It's just very well archived. Right. Why is that important to you? Why is it, I guess it's almost as important as the piece itself, as the final product. Yeah.
I think for us, right, like, I don't know, like the t-shirt itself is like a it's not just a t-shirt, you know, it's not something that you just like see and like, it's nice, you know, and then you put it on, you know, like it's kind of like a medium to me. It's a medium not just for like expression, it's also a medium for like you know, like the inspiration that goes behind it, and like there's a story behind like every single piece and everything. And I think we wanted to kind of channel that approach towards like something as basic as t-shirts lah. You know, like it's usually like how to say, like something that goes like unnoticed, you know, like some guy wears this t-shirt and can just like walk past you and everything, like, you know. Then you just say like, oh, okay, the print is like nice and everything. But like, you know, when you see like a Supreme like BOGO, for example, you know, there's like all that culture that's like embedded into it.
Yep.
And I think we wanted to convey that as well. We wanted to tell that story in the stuff that we do. Like we didn't want it to be just a like t-shirt lah. For one, like we don't have lots of culture, you know, like growing up here, you know, like we don't really have like I don't know, like something that we can kind of like embody the brand with, that like everybody like confirm or like fuck with it, like in terms of like cultural like experiences, for example. So we wanted each piece to kind of have a story, so that, you know, like it when people like wear it, you know, like they embody like a certain like perspective of something, you know. And I think this whole inspiration also really came from like a lot of the brands that we kind of take inspiration from. So like moving on from like the two brands like aforementioned, it was like there were other brands that really like documented their pieces like really well. And I think like you know, like some of them really have like graphical like mood, they share their mood boards with like people, you know, they share their approaches and everything. And I think for me, like, you know, when I see that, right, like going back to that whole when I was in like printing, the whole like period, you know, where I didn't really know about the process and stuff, you know, I just see the end product and I'm like, fuck, this thing is dope, but I never really had that added layer of respect for the product, for example. And when I see like all this like mood boards and everything, you know, like all of the thought processes, you know, the certain articles that they reference to and everything, you know, that added like a lot of like complexity and like layer to like the product itself, like. And there's something so simple as a t-shirt, right, to embody like all of that, right, I think was like super dope. And like, you know, it's something that I feel like, you know, like needs to be like part of like what we do as well. Like we can't I mean, it's not saying like we can't, but it's more of like, you know, like it's something that I was really like drawn to. Like I really wanted like the simplest of things to have like all the meaning that it can have. So we try to really like think about like, you know, like concepts, and we try to really pull together all of the inspirations that we have. We will keep it at a corner, and then after that, you know, like once we're done with everything, then we'll go back and like document everything, like, you know, like what's the process like, how long did it take, you know. Yeah, basically that's the approach.
I was gonna ask, at this point in your creative journey and having done the brand for so long, how do you feel about the two aforementioned brand before? Do you still like this stuff, or have you moved on from them, or is it do you see them in a different light now?
I think the perspective definitely has changed like over time. I think for one, you know, like it might be because, you know, like my perspective of like you know, what is nice, you know, like changed or rather like, you know, the things that like the brands are doing are like different right now. So there's too many factors I could say, but the perspective definitely has changed. I've definitely like, you know, like you know, like as I grow, you know, there's a lot of like different inspirations like coming out of nowhere, you know. And as my interest like develops, you know, I start to try to explore beyond like what I've previously like explored, you know. But like that being said, also like I think all these brands that I've initially like grown up with, you know, like taken like lots of like creative inspiration from, you know, like I still see myself going back to like the old stuff they've done. So like I even if now like let's say I don't like a specific brand, right, for what they're doing, right, I still appreciate like what they have done back then. So I'll still like go back to like their archives and like I will see their old stuff, and then after that, like, you know, like I will just like remind myself like, hey yo, these were the things that inspired me, and like, you know, like maybe they've kind of like shifted, but I need to pay attention to like what were the things that like started like this for me, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, do you consider yourself an artist?
Not at all, man. I don't know.
Why not?
I feel like I'm just like passing by. I'm not like hey, I'm here to like change the like I don't know. Like for me, like being an artist is like I don't know.
Is
like,
it too heavy of a label?
Yeah, it's too heavy of a label for me, I think. Like I would even call myself like sometimes I would even call myself like a designer, for example. Sometimes I wouldn't really call myself like
how do you introduce yourself?
I don't know, man. I just do things.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like, yeah, I think like artists, like the term artist itself, like it's so big, and you know, like sometimes it's thrown around very loosely. You know, like you can do something and then like, hey yo, I'm a artist, man. I just painted something and everything. But I feel like there's a lot of like you need to rather there's a lot of meaning behind that word itself, and there's a lot of perspectives, there's a lot of like discipline that needs to be like you need to embody if you were to like have that label and everything, which I don't think is something that I have. I think right now like I'm still refining my process, you know, like this whole thing is just me like, you know, like just exploring
art
project, man. It's all a work in progress, you know. So yeah, I think I'm definitely just some guy that's just like, hey yo, I'm just, don't mind me, man, I'm just doing my thing.
Passing by.
I'm just squeezing through the crowd. Then I'm just like passing you t-shirts and stuff. You know, you like it and whatever lah. You don't like it, then okay lah. Doesn't matter, man.
Before we move on, I just want you to know that you matter. You're not just passing by, you exist.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that, man. Cheers.
So you mentioned like the inception of the name Dead Inside. And I'm curious to know, has that changed along the way? Or is it still that same initial genesis meaning even up to now? Because you've done so much. You've done so much collabs. You have added so much substance to it. So I'm just curious to know, has it changed anyway?
No, I don't think it has changed. I'm still staying true to like what it means lah. I think because the term itself like you know, like wherever I think about it, like it really like brings me back to like where I first like started, you know. So like every time, you know, when I'm designing also, I try to remind myself like, hey, like the whole reason why I'm doing this, you know, like is because like, hey, this is something that I really like, you know. I'm not just doing it for the sake of doing it. And I think this applies to like other disciplines in my life as well. Like, you know, like if I'm like at a specific like job, you know, and I really don't like the work, and then every day I come in, you know, I'm just like looking like fuck, like, you know, and then I'll just like remind myself as well. And
does
then,
it
like,
ground you?
In a sense, I think it always reminds me to be like true to myself lah, you know. Like when I'm designing something also, and then after that, you know, like when I have that thoughts about like, hey yo, this shit is too like people won't like fuck with it, that kind of thing. But then to me it's like, hey, like this is something that I really like, you know. I have to push it lah, but maybe if it's not this medium, then it'll be another medium. But at least like, you know, like I have that moment where I actually like slow down and like start to think, and then after that I start to reflect a bit about like why I've started this in the first place, for example. So yeah, I don't think it has changed. I think it's always been in the same perspective over the past few years. It's always been the same. Yeah, I think trying to stay true to it lah.
Gotcha.
Basically.
In closing, I have two more questions. First of which, I'm curious to know, how do you make sense of both the creative and the retail landscape today?
Whoa.
Because it's so vast now, and there seem to be, I think, endless opportunities. You can, let's say, do something on TikTok, you can do something on YouTube, you can do something on Twitch.
Yeah.
How do you make sense of it? Because right now, as before, there seemed to be a limited number of ways you could succeed. But right now, there seem to be an infinite number of ways you can succeed. And that will lead to some people not knowing what to do. Where do I start? So I'm just curious to know, how do you make sense of it? Because there's so much saturation. Oh, you have to be on Instagram. You have to be on, I guess, Facebook. You have to have a shop. You have to have an online shop. You have to have ship it well. You have to be on Twitch. You have to do so many things now. I'm curious to know, do you feel overwhelmed? What is it?
I mean, it is definitely like overwhelming in like certain points in time. But in terms of like you know, like there's so many like different opportunities in terms of like creative exploration, right? Like I feel like me like in terms of like navigating the space, it's really about like trying like, you know, like different things. You know, for example, like if let's say like I don't have my mind like set on something specific, you know, like maybe I want to be like a graphic designer. Then after that, I have like Instagram account like sharing all the graphic design stuff. Then suddenly like one day, you know, like it dawned upon me that nobody likes my work and everything. You know, then it's about like figuring like. It's about coming to realization that, you know, like something doesn't work, and then after that you move on to like a different like medium and exploration. So I think like if let's say like Instagram doesn't work, then after that you move on to like TikTok, and then you try something else again, you know. I think it's always about like, you know, like in this like vast space right now with like so many different like mediums, right? It's about like trying and then like seeing like what works. Because there's not one medium for like one specific person. In a sense, it could be like many mediums for one thing that you do as well, or it could be like many things that you do in one medium. There's a lot of like different like permutations and everything. And I think right now, like with what we have, right, it's not going to stop. There's going to be like more and more like platforms. There's going to be more like creative things that people can do and everything. And
platforms die.
Exactly. Like platforms die. I think like different like creative styles also like die over time as well. So it's not per se like you know, like, hey, I need to do this specific thing, and with this specific thing, right, I use this specific like platform, right, I can definitely like succeed in everything. I think like there's some designers that also like succeed like on TikTok as well, for example, you know, like every day they just show like different like 6-second cuts of like their like piecing together like their popular like designs and everything. And that was not like you know, I think previously with like Instagram, like you could do it, but I think you know, like how TikTok allows for like faster consumption of like shorter cuts of like like content, for example, you know, it really like ramps up the whole process, for example. And I think like, you know, like because of like what he does, like his niche, for example, right, you know, it makes perfect sense for him to like thrive on like TikTok compared to like Instagram, for example. And I think like, you know, like as like time goes, you know, like with this like whole like landscape, you know, like there's more like softwares coming up. Now you got like the whole like Web3 space, you know. You start to see like people that are like doing for example 3D work. You know, like 3D wasn't something that was very available, and it wasn't really something that was like imbued with like the whole corporate like world. But like now every single brand wants to do like NFTs, for example. And then suddenly the whole metaverse, like platforms like Decentraland becomes like very popular because, you know, like these people with all their niches, you know, like they've continued to work on like what they do, like despite the lack of like the platforms available. But then suddenly, you know, like over time, you know, all that hard work pays off because as like things grow, you know, like these opportunities will come out of nowhere. And I think that applies to any discipline lah. Like, you know, if there's like so many like, you know, you have lots of like creative ideas and everything, you know, like the platforms like shouldn't like restrict you on like your exploration and like everything. You should like continue to just like do, you know, like just fucking like do what you want to do and everything. And then over time, like, you know, just somehow like out of nowhere, right, there will be like a a form of like opportunity lah. Like there's always a silver lining lah, basically.
I'm curious to know, how does one keep up then? Because it feels like an arms race.
Yeah.
You can't just be, an illustrator. You have to be an illustrator that knows how to do 3D and knows how to market themselves and knows how to talk to people.
Yeah.
How does one keep up then? It's like an arms race. Yeah.
I think it really like boils down to like, what you want out of it also,
What
like,
does that mean? Yeah.
As in like, I mean, like keeping up could be like, in terms of like being like financially successful with what you do. Keeping up could be just being like knowledgeable about these things, but you don't necessarily use the skills for like a form of like monetary transaction. I think like for one is like, like what you want out of it, like in terms of like how you want to catch up, how you want to just, like be aware, be like knowledgeable of all these things, like there is a lot of ways and everything. But yeah, I think like you're probably like coming from the perspective that, there's so many like media platforms and like shit going around right now. How does everyone be aware of like everything, like the new trends and like design and everything?
Yeah. So really ask, so I guess the question is, what is important? Yeah. How do you determine what is important for like a creative? Yeah, ultimately, yeah.
I think right now, like there is a lot of like noise like going around. Like you start to see like Twitter like booming again. And then there's a lot of like shit. There's a lot of like fake news and everything. And then like, like suddenly we start to see like, hey, 3D design. Now I'm like an illustrator. Now I need to like learn like 3D design and everything. Like if not, I'm going to be like left behind and whatever. There's always this like fear. There's that fear like exceptionally now because like of how like, like the way like the internet is like evolving, like word gets around like faster and everything. But I would say like, like in terms of like there is definitely a need to like catch up and everything. And like I guess like to catch up, like you really just got to like spend I guess like time outside of your like work or everything, like just read like some articles and everything, like or just chat with like people. Like I think for me, like my personal experience was like my first like endeavor into like crypto like last year.
Okay.
I think like I know like nothing about like finance, for example. Like I'm very like shitty with like investments. I mean, I still am. I still am.
Okay.
I mean, like okay, for like I don't know, but like cause I was doing like design and everything. Like the whole like finance world was like very foreign to me.
Sure.
But then like when suddenly like crypto like came out of nowhere, we start to see like how design plays like a very integral role in like crypto. You start to see like websites being more like well done. There's a lot of like technicalities to like how websites are developed and like phone apps are developed as well. You start to see lots of like attention being paid to like digital art in terms of like a outsider's perspective.
Yep.
There's lots of value on like digital art right now, and suddenly like there's this pressure to like become like more technical in your skills and like be more like develop works that are more web focused, for example. And then I think for me it was like I was like, oh shit, like if I don't like catch up with all of this, right, like
you'll lose out.
I'm going to lose out. I'm going to be like obsolete lah, And at the time I was also like working in like advertising as well, like it's always about like jumping on trends. The whole like idea and like attitude, was like imbued in me already. And I think all the brands that we were working with, right, all the clients, right, they were like, hey, yo, I want to do NFT. Then nobody knows what the fuck like an NFT was.
Yeah.
So like I was like, okay, you know what, like if we don't catch up and everything, right, we can't offer all these services to our clients as well. Like we can't for one, like we can't have these conversations with the people. And the second thing is like we can't offer like services, and we also can't understand like certain terms that are being like thrown around. And now because like all of it is like fused with the design world, it felt like something natural that we need to like pick up on, basically. So I think for me, like I just like downloaded like Twitter again. I never used like Twitter at all. Then suddenly like everything was on Twitter.
Yep.
And then after that, like I don't really like game like that frequently or so. Then suddenly I just like download Discord also. So I was like learning all these like platforms, and then every night I was just like talking to people, talking about random shit. And I start to see all these like terms being like thrown around. And I start to like learn more about like how you need to like design for like web, for example. And then after that, like I start to pick up on more like 3D stuff because like it seemed like the more like popular thing that was happening.
Yep.
So I think after like work, I was spending more and more time like just exploring, just like learning. I think like just being on the internet, you know, just trying out all these like different platforms, interacting with all the different like crypto stuff, you know, like
it feels like a peer-to-peer thing because it's not like you are learning, let's say, from an institution where traditionally how it is, or you're learning from, let's say, a teacher. But it's more like a peer-to-peer. You're saying Twitter and Discord. It's just people saying their particular opinion, saying what they think, and you're just absorbing and I guess reflecting and learning from there.
Correct. Because I don't think it's like how to say, like it's not really like a new thing to learn. It's just that it's kind of old skills with more attention being paid to. So like it's things that we know already like exist. It's just that, you know, now we kind of need to like spend more like time work like picking it up and like, you know, like spending more attention to like how we can refine the craft for it to be like better valued, for example. Because now compared to then, right, like the difference is more about like value and attention. So as you said, I think it's more like peer-to-peer in a sense that, you know, like people who have experience in these fields like start to share more about like what they do and like how over time, right, that has kind of been given like value to. And then like for us as like people that, you know, like we don't know shit about like all these like different kinds of like design disciplines and everything, right? It's more of like you know, learning all these like terms directly from them. And then after that, taking all of those like knowledge and then applying it to our own creative discipline and then creating that whole like refined like creative perspective of your own, and then, you know, like channeling that to like whatever it is you do, basically. And I think like all of that whole like past like 1-2 years of like just like being on like Twitter and everything, like you can really learn a lot, man. Like people like to talk. People like to share things. And you just need to be there to listen. Like,
gotcha.
You know, even like last year, I think like Clubhouse was a huge thing, right? Clubhouse came out of nowhere. And then everybody was like, yo, I need to get invited to be on this thing. Then after that, you start to join like all these talks, and then people just like blabbering like, like whatever like stuff about like crypto and everything. But like I would just like put it there and like play in the background while I was like doing work and everything. Then I start to hear all these like terms like being thrown out of nowhere and everything. Then you start to see like NFT artists like getting popular. Then they start to talk about like the whole ideas of NFTs, less about like their creative discipline. So you're picking like bits and pieces of like knowledge from like every different like platform and everything. And then after that, like you know, you can just like put it all together lah. Like, and then after that, like use all that knowledge to do your own form of like exploration and everything.
I do think the most interesting thing that has came out within the past couple of years, it's the rise of non-traditional forms of learning, like through Clubhouse, through Twitter Spaces, through Discord, YouTube. You're not going to like an institution. You're not locked down to like, let's say a 4-year course. Like this are all non-traditional. And sometimes they're free, sometimes not free. Online courses are a big thing. Like you can just go to, I guess, Udemy or Skillshare just to learn graphic design. I guess if you were starting the brand today, you would just go to Skillshare just to learn the basics, and you can move from there. Like
I guess like education now has become so like decentralized. And you know like there is I think the only thing right now, like, you know, there's always like stopping someone from like learning something is just his own drive lah, basically. You know, there's so many like different platforms, as you mentioned, like you can literally learn like anything from like anywhere. You can learn things from TikTok also.
Definitely.
You want to be like a TikTok star, right? Just watch all the TikTok videos and everything, right? Suddenly you'll be like making like videos with like millions of views and everything, you know.
I think that leads me to my next question, which I think directly correlates to what you just said. What motivates you to continue doing what you're doing? Because you mentioned drive. Assuming I can't go get it from the store, where does one find it?
Drive. I think for me, like, it's really about the people that I surround myself with.
Okay.
And like the friends that I've made over the past few years. I've come to know like lots of like creative individuals with like drives that are like, I don't know, man, they have like so much energy in them. And like sometimes being around them is like kind of scary.
Scary.
Yeah, because like, you know, like after work I'm like fucking like tired and everything, but then they are like doing all of these like things, you know, like I'm like, where the hell you get that energy from, you know? Some days I'll have really like shitty days, like very like bad days and everything, but it's the people that, you know, the people that are around you, these friends that you've made, and it doesn't have to be like creative, you know, like they can be like, I don't know, like lawyers, for example, toiling like fucking like all-nighters every day. I think it's just mostly the people for me, friends and everything, you know, like I see the works that they do, you know, like the achievements they've done, you know, they always like try to, you know, they always inspire me lah. They always and the thing is that like it's very good to be around people that are also very supportive of what you do also, because like for one, it's like they like every time you do something, you know, like the last thing you want is like someone saying like, hey yo, this thing is like shit, you know. That affects your drive also, right? I don't know, maybe it might inspire you to do more stuff. Like negative comments might inspire. Sometimes, I mean, like negative comments.
Does it inspire you?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes it does lah. Sometimes it does lah.
Okay.
I think it's like for one, like it's about like, you know, like getting the support that you need. And then another one is really like, you know, like having people to really look up to on a daily basis and like remind you like you know, if you're like freaking like sleeping on the couch like every day, you know, like you need to get up and like do something, because if not, all those hours, like I don't know, what have they gone to? Yeah, I do see myself, you know, like sometimes having like very unproductive like periods, you know, I just like sitting down, like watching movies and everything. I mean, it is some form of like productivity, but you know, it's all of these people that I got really close to that always pull me out of like the depths and everything. Yeah, like it's just people I think it's just and that like I guess like brings me back to like the whole idea of like community also. It's really about all these groups of people that inspire one another to do something, and then that becomes like, you know, like a larger thing that comes to like fruition. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Before we end, is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Not specifically, man. I think we've covered quite a lot.
Most of it? Okay, yeah. I'll get your Pinterest board later. Where can people find you? Yeah, please shout yourself out.
Yeah, you can look up the brand on the web, deadinside.net, because Dead Inside was already taken. So
it's double Dead Inside.
It's double Dead Inside.
Is it spelled as it sounds?
Yeah, it's spelled as it sounds. Dead
Okay.
Inside, deadinside.net, or yeah, you can just follow us on Instagram, which is Dead Inside, but the I's are L's.
Wow, very
Dude, Dead Inside is being thrown around so much, man. It's like yeah, it's everything's taken even before we are like there. So
when is the TikTok dancers coming?
I don't know, man. Soon. TikTok.
When there's a story and an idea, hopefully.
When a story is an idea, If we cannot tell the story in t-shirts, then you might see a TikTok video, So look out for that,
All right. Yeah. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for your time.
Cheers, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode and feel inspired. If you enjoyed what you heard thus far, do give us a follow on Instagram. And don't forget to share and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode.